That was Of Tomorrow, my guest for today, and that was the track The March.
Yes, it was.
So, at the core of Tomorrow's music is authentic, technical, and diverse, touching on the sounds of funk, Latin jazz, festival rock, samba, neo-soul, and hip-hop. They bring it all together. They were formed in late 2015, and the band's comprised of their core members, Nick, John, and Jeff. Together, these three form the rich backbeat melodies and lyrical structure for other players to texture, improvise, and compose over. Of Tomorrow has released their self-titled album and continue to write, tour, and record all around the region. So I've known these guys and I've seen these guys around the scene for years. And listeners, it is with great pleasure that I introduce Jeff and John from Of Tomorrow.
Hello,
Say hi,
world.
fellas.
What's up, guys?
How's
It
it
is
going?
such a treat having you here. Now, talk to us about how Of Tomorrow came together. How did that happen?
Well, I had played in a band around DC for a long time. As had John. John's actually toured pretty extensively and played with a lot of folks. And I had, bands sometimes go the way of the dinosaurs. It's kind of part of the industry, I suppose.
True. All right.
And I had recently left one project, and I ran into John at this amazing meeting of the minds jam session out in Virginia, and told him the story. And he said, "Oh, well, actually, that's interesting because I have a new project coming together with this bass player I met who is amazing, and Nick is amazing." And he said, "We have a show next Friday. Would you like to play with us?" And I said yes, and we practiced for about 30 minutes for a 4-hour set, and we had so much fun. We said, wow, we should actually start writing songs and bringing in more people who we know who are talented in the scene, teaching them the songs, and aggressively booking shows. And it sort of came together from there.
That's amazing. And John, I want to switch over to you. Where did music come into your life? Jeff just said that you've been playing for a while. Talk about that a bit.
I started beating on pots and pans as a baby. My mom really was all about that. So
Beating on pots and pans?
Yeah, she just encouraged me to hit all kinds of stuff in the house and
all
make
right.
sounds. And I had like a little record player with 5 or 6 records. This Fisher Price thing I'll never forget. I just loved music from the beginning. But I took some Suzuki piano early on. I just really didn't have that much interest in studying music until I saw a couple of local players around my early teen years. Like when I was 14, I saw this great jazz drummer, and I went up to her. Her name was Roberta Washington, and asked her to give me lessons. Mm-hmm. And same with the pianist, and walked up to him and asked him to give me lessons. So it came into my life that way.
So both piano and drums then?
Yeah, and at the same time, I was going to school at Murray in D.C. And me and a couple of guys there formed a punk band. We played a lot of Bad Brains covers and whatever, and we eventually hooked up with a singer, Amanda Mackay, actually. Don Z was just in here, and so I played around the DC punk scene and in a hip-hop band called 3LG back in the day. And, so I came into music really playing a lot of different styles. I didn't really care. I loved hip-hop, I loved early rap, I loved early electronic music, I loved jazz. And I studied them all, and have been kind of looking for a band that I could just be me, which means I can do a lot of things, which is kind of the impetus for forming this group. And for me, with in its early inception, was to just really be, a place that music's music, and I think people are smart enough and open enough out there now to be able to love just good music. So.
What about you, Jeff? How does music enter your life? What's that story there?
Well, I think everything I've ever wanted in a band, including things I didn't know I wanted, I've sort of found in this band, but it was a long journey to get there.
It sounds like the beginning of a sweet love story. It's such a sweet love story.
It is. It's
tell us more. Tell us more.
Well, so my grandfather was a musician. He actually played during World War II in the Marine Corps band.
Oh, wow.
And his band was actually weaponized and turned into a fighting unit. The whole band was shipped to the Pacific. And it's a pretty crazy story. There's actually a lot of military history that's been written about it. But
I'm just going to say, I really hope that doesn't happen to us.
I hope that doesn't happen to us. Not out of the question in these crazy times, John.
Weaponized.
Yeah. But so he was a musician. My mother was a music teacher. So growing up, we had a big room full of random noisemakers to play around with. And I always wanted to play guitar. she said that, you know, she played guitar. She was a music teacher all when I was from -9 months old all the way through birth. So I listened to a lot of guitar in that period. My brain's kind of wired around it.
Okay, so guitar's your thing.
Yeah, so I picked that up until I was about 18. Wanted to be a professional musician. Sort of got cold feet, wandered around for a year, wasn't sure what to do, and then found political passions and spent the better part of 10 years exclusively pursuing that passion, using skill sets that actually aren't overall dissimilar to music in some ways, like you and I talked about earlier. And now, for the first time as an adult, I'm doing both.
Wow. Which makes for a pretty busy schedule, I imagine.
It's not good for things like sleep, but it is very good for, overall having a balanced life where I do things I'm passionate about. Sometimes it's been very trying lately, especially, but the band has really been a great outlet.
That's cool. And now, you guys had said there was a story. We just played that song, The March, from the there's a video that I'll post with the episode that's of these guys. They did a live broadcast from a recording studio, and it's just an amazing video and a lot of fun to watch. The dynamics of everything is happening. Tell us about that.
Hey, can I actually just tell a little bit about the musical side of it before Jeff? You tell
please do.
About the
Absolutely.
lyrical side of it.
Yeah.
Because that song represents what you read out of the bio for me.
Okay.
It's like, it started as kind of a formed bass drum guitar backbeat, and then we brought 2 keyboardists and a trumpet player who aren't the core members of our band to come and compose over it.
Yeah.
And the result is what I think when you play that song, back to back with other songs, I listen to it, I'm really proud that it sounds fresh and it sounds different. And it doesn't sound intentionally different, because it's not. What it is just grabbing people from all different areas and saying, you're not committed to like performing some certain genre or certain sound. We've got the bass, drums, and guitar covered. You be you, and we're going to come up with something we have no idea what it's going to be. And that's what the March,
what we just heard was that really they had never played that with you before. They knew the basics.
They've come up with it. They've helped us come up with that song, but not every note is supposed to be plotted out.
Essentially, the way that things have gone recently is we sort of took a book out of the playbook of Everyone Orchestra, who's a band who's good friends of ours, run by Matt Butler out of Portland, Oregon, and he invites people who he knows who are really talented to come and play with them. Well, John, Nick, and I write a lot of the songs, and the songs have really, we would like to think, strong structures, lyrical content, things like that. But then we invite keyboard players and horn players and violin and rappers and anyone we want to come in over it. And so as a result, the result is always really creative and fresh and inspiring, at least to me. With that particular song, the lyrical content's kind of interesting. When we're not touring around, I live on Capitol Hill, about 2 blocks from the U.S. Capitol.
Okay.
I was walking on the plaza one day, and there was this big rally going on behind the Capitol, and everyone was singing, "Corporations aren't people." And I, started walking away, and in my head I started thinking like, bum, 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 dun, 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 dun.
Wow.
But then, so the first 2 lyrics there are "corporations aren't people," but then the third time I say "corporations are made of people," because the thing about it is corporations, it was interesting to hear that protest say that, because they were frustrated with corporate personhood, obviously. But at the end of the day, corporations are made of people. They're just other people who are really good at exercising their political leverage very effectively. Yeah. So I think especially for our friends who care about things like economic fairness and basic rights, I think it's important to maintain that distinction and not see the other side in such monolithic adversarial terms in a way that is sort of exculpatory and satisfying at times.
Yeah, John, I'm curious now.
Words.
That I was gonna say those are amazingly big, beautiful words, and you just earned sexy. You earned sexy points on the radio when you start talking big words like that.
The best words, all the best words.
I think
John, for
exculpatory
you,
at times is a good song title for something coming up. And I'll have to find out what it means.
Stay tuned for something like that, John. It sounds like this. Is it the same? Clearly, Jeff brings a lot of political perspective and like current events and stuff happening on the Hill. When you think about what do you bring to Of Tomorrow outside of, is it just the music for you?
Well, okay,
where's your
really,
influence?
when I met Nick at a jam session, I was playing in another local group, Nappy Rhythm, great reggae band.
Oh yeah,
awesome.
And I had been with them for like 3.5 years, and but when I met Nick, as a drummer, you meet a bass player, and his versatility and what it brought out of me made me think, wow, as a backbeat, as the backbone of a band, we could enable amazing things to happen. So I really created this, in my mind, what I created was a place that people could express themselves on top of and with the support of drums and bass that can pretty much do whatever is called for. So when Geoff brings this kind of passion and lyrical content to the song, that's exactly what my mission is not to control or say, hey, you come here and play this guitar, you come here and say these things, but to see him or anyone come in and really be enabled to make something that is really true to them, but also musically, technically versatile and beautiful. That for me is the mission. I'm not the singer, so I'm not about to tell you, I'm not about to tell you what to sing.
Right. What about now outside of the music part now? Geoff, it sounds like a lot of your life is captured in political persuasion and such. What outside of work and outside of the work part, what's life like for you guys? Are you homebodies? What do you do in your downtime?
Every single second of downtime I have, when I'm not sleeping, I'm generally mustering up all the energy I can to do things that are related to this band and its development.
Getting a band to be actually, playing out and have shows and get records done and all that, as anyone out there knows, everyone knows, it takes an immense amount of work, and Geoff definitely does an incredible amount of work.
Well, John helps a lot, and I mean, and the thing is, in some senses, starting any new initiative and getting it off the ground, it can be it's sort of like a political campaign in a way. Running a band can be like a political campaign just with no election day, which can be kind of exhausting. And one difference is, instead of having a van database where you have hundreds of thousands of voters and you put together route packets and send volunteers out to talk to them, you have a spreadsheet where you have 200 venues, festivals, and breweries, and you basically need to look up or hire someone to go through that and look up contact information and do all the outreach. And for us, who's a band who does a lot of that ourselves, we don't quite have the volume yet to get a big production house.
Sure.
But we've had a really amazing group of people who've really latched on to what we're doing and contributed their enthusiasm. Like, for anyone who's interested, I would definitely recommend they go to dcmusicrocks.com or to bandoftomorrow.com and see the videos that we've had. We shot those at this big warehouse party in DC at an art space. Mm-hmm. And it was this amazing night, and we invested a lot in the video crew, and we had DaVinci Sound and Vision out to record it, and Audio Bar came out, and Pat Chang, Sean Gawkin, it was great. And everyone walked away really excited, almost feeling like this must have been, I heard someone walk away and say, this must have been what it was like to be in, Haight-Ashbury in the 60s. That same kind of, it was 2 weeks after the election, the whole art scene came together around it. People just had a lot of raw energy. And in our song Order of the Red Banner, which is also on our website and social media channels, that a lot of that, kind of came out in that as well.
Check that out. Now, what do you guys the exciting thing? Talk to me about exciting things coming up of tomorrow.
Can I speak to that just for a second?
By all means,
because
jump in.
I think the DC music scene has something sort of special, is that we're in DC, and having grown up here, and been in the underground scene and the art scene, there's certain parts of the scene here that are totally disconnected from what people think of as Washington monuments, politics, all that. It's just people expressing themselves, making art. And there's another part of the scene which is, very, very politically active. That was represented always by a lot of charity shows and Positive Force and, groups that combine music with political action. So that's kind of what makes this place special, but it's important in and out of the area that, to recognize there's always been a part of the scene that's just about the music, just art.
It really, and the scene is wonderful for that in terms of being very supportive, and I love that about the DC music scene, which is one of the reasons I love
really
this show.
Good thing here. It's great, and it's growing, and it's awesome to see it grow.
I want you to tell. Well, first I want you to say, if they're interested in finding out more about you guys, where do they find you guys online or to follow you guys?
bandoftomorrow.com.
Yeah. Got it. It's all there.
At Band of Tomorrow on Instagram. But bandoftomorrow.com, actually, our new album is up for free, just for an email address.
Check it out.
And there's also a link there to our very good friends at Void Life Records, who, if you are willing to pay $8.88, they will send you a physical copy of the CD with one-of-a-kind drawings on the envelope and a handwritten
Nice.
thank you note because
Wow, those
they're
guys are
they are
super cool.
amazing.
That's amazing.
So that's all at
Talk about
bandoftomorrow.com.
grassroots.
And I want you guys to speak to. I'm going to put this little clip on because you said there's a DJ Unknown. Is that what you said?
Yeah, Odyssey and Good Company.
Talk about this. Well, hold on. Let's listen for just a second here. Listen to what's happening in this audio clip here.
From the song we just heard, that sample.
It sounds kind of like noise.
Oh, put it back up for a second. Yeah, he just deconstructs it in the beginning and turns it into
This.
a crazy beat.
It's amazing.
So he did this like at the show. He actually made this as we were playing.
It was that
and
warehouse party I was talking about
It was
before.
done when we were done. And he just grabs stuff out of the air and makes art. And his name's
yeah.
actually Unknown.
Okay.
Not really DJ Unknown. He plays with Odyssey. He's their MPC, sample player. I mean, he's extremely well known around here to
Wow.
anyone in the hip hop scene.
He basically came and he set up a microphone in the corner of the room. And then when we were done, he went down and he plugged into a DI box on stage and he played back remixes of all the songs we had just played, none of which he had ever heard, using only samples that he recorded that night.
Live.
And he also plays with Odyssey, the rapper from DC, who is about to go on a 9-month world tour, making us all very, very proud of. And Ralph Reel, who's our keyboard player, is also going on
Yeah.
tour with them.